So welcome to lecture number 20, 210 fluid mechanics. This lecture is about non-dimensionalization of fundamental equations. So in the previous two lectures on non-dimensionalization of parameters, we took a purely experimental approach. So what we said was that to solve problems which have complex geometries, like the example problem we took of an aerofoil, and there is some flow happening past it. So we said that for such cases, it's not possible to solve the problem analytically. It's not possible to obtain a closed form mathematical solution of the Navier-Stokes equations. So what we do is we take a completely experimental approach. So we went to the other side of the spectrum. So the spectrum has two sides. One is purely experimental, and the other is purely theoretical, solving equations. So we went towards this side, and here is where we started talking about dimensional analysis. So we talked about the non-dimensional pi parameters. We talked about setting up a functional relationship between only those pi parameters. Okay, and this we said will allow us to do experiments on scaled down models and learn something useful which can be applied to scaled up real prototypes. So we talked about some pi being a function of other pi's, and this function we said is something we can find out. I mean, is this something? This function is something which cannot be found out. Using dimensional analysis, we have to do experiments for that. Okay, so this is what we have been doing till now. But now the question is, can we apply the ideas of dimensional analysis along with theoretical conservation equations? Is it anything that we can do on this side of the spectrum and utilize the ideas of dimensional analysis here? Okay, the answer is yes. So let us see. So today's lecture is going to be integrating the ideas of dimensional analysis with theoretical conservation equations. Okay, so what we do is, I mean, let's recall the momentum equation, or the two equations we had. So the first equation was continuity. For an incompressible flow, we write it as the divergence of velocity equal to 0, and the other one was the Navier-Stokes equation, which was an equation for the rate of change of momentum. So we have dv by dt. Sometimes we write that as the sum of the local change and the convective change. On the right hand side, we have the body force term, the gravity term. We have the gradient of pressure, and then we also have the term due to the viscosity. Okay, so here I've assumed it's a Newtonian fluid. So there's a rho here, and this is supposed to be a viscosity mu here. Okay, so these are the two equations that we developed in the past for theoretical discussions, and we also actually solved them for those channel problems. Okay, so when we apply the ideas of dimensional analysis, or in fact in this case we call them non-dimensionalization. Okay, so we can apply non-dimensionalization to these two equations, and these ideas will not help us solve the equations. For solving, we still need to use the mathematical tools for solving PDEs or computational methods. But what this idea does is it returns or it spits out the key non-dimensional parameters for a given problem. Okay. Okay, so these non-dimensional parameters are the same as those pi parameters. So in the beginning, we said that now pi1 is a function of pi2 and pi3 only. So these pi2 and pi3, we could find out using the ideas of dimensional analysis. Now, if we apply the non-dimensionalization ideas here, we can get those pi parameters here as well. This is very important because then we know that our solution is simply a function of those pi parameters only. So if I change those pi parameters, then my solution changes. So this will this usually helps us to categorize the phenomena, or classify the behavior of systems. As an example, I mean, we'll see very soon in this lecture that fluid flow problems are sometimes only a function of something called Reynolds number. So for different values of Reynolds number, the system may behave differently. So for example, if the Reynolds number is below 2500, then the system behaves in a very ordered way, a very laminar layered way. But if the Reynolds number increases beyond 2500, then we see that the behavior of the system is very turbulent, very disordered, a lot of mixing happening in the system. So it's this critical value of 2500 for this Reynolds number that completely changes the behavior of the system. So in this case, we're talking about flow inside a pipe. Okay, so this Reynolds number, I mean, in this case, it's a pi parameter. So the values of pi parameters, they affect they can be used to classify the behavior of systems. You can also use to categorize the phenomena. Okay, so laminar, turbulent, and so on. Okay, there may be more non-dimensionalization parameters coming out in a problem. So to understand if the resultant lift force, for example, is a function of a certain number of pi parameters, we can find those pi parameters out using the ideas of theoretical equations rather than going to those experience-based methods that we talked about in the last few lectures. Okay, so let's start doing this. Let's perform the exercise for using non-dimensionalization of theoretical equations. Okay, so in both the continuity as well as the Navier-Stokes equation, we have, I mean, everything that we have can be described using three fundamental dimensions. So in this case, they are mass, length, and time. There's no other fundamental dimension that is required to describe the quantities in the continuity and momentum equations. Okay, so similar to the previous exercise, since we have three fundamental dimensions, so we need three reference dimensional variables. Okay, and we have to make sure these three dimensional variables that we have chosen, they do not form a pi group. Okay, that is, no combination of these three chosen dimensional variables should be able to form a non-dimensional number, and they should all contain ml and t. I mean, as in, like, not all of them, but together they should be able to contain mass, length, and time. Okay, so no fundamental dimension should be missed out in the union of these three variables dimensionally. Okay, so that choice in this case has to be ours. So let us make a choice. So first we'll choose a reference length. So we'll call it L. So I mean, it depends on the problem that you're dealing with, that L will have a different meaning. So for example, in that aerofoil, so it could be the aerofoil width, which we have been using as L till now. Okay, so this length matters. And for example, if you have flow happening across a cylinder, a circular cylinder, if you have a flow like this, so this was an aerofoil. So if you have a flow like this, then you can take the diameter of this cylinder as the characteristic or reference length. Okay, so that reference length is something that is our choice depending on the problem that we're dealing with, the problem geometry. All right. So the next one is a reference speed. We denote that by capital U. So again, this depends on the problem that we are working with. So for the aerofoil case, it could be the free stream speed. So this speed. So the flow is, I mean, the plane is flying with flow velocity u. So that speed can be taken as the reference speed. Okay, and we need one more. So we'll choose density, denoted by rho. So now we can see that L, U, and rho, they can not form a pi group together, because L only has a length and rho only has a mass. So and U has, I mean, distinctly U has time. So there's no other quantity that can cancel the time from U, and there's no quantity that can cancel the mass from rho. So these three can help form, can help create three reference dimensional variables. So the idea here is that we have to non-dimensionalize the whole equation. That is, in the continuity and momentum equations, we have to non-dimensionalize all the terms. So ultimately, we should not have any dimension in the in any term in the equation. So for that, we have to define non-dimensional terms or variables. Right, so let's define these variables. So let's say V star. So the starred quantities will be non-dimensional variables. So V star will be defined as the ratio of the velocity V to the inlet speed U. Okay, now V star, could be a component of velocity or could be the whole velocity vector. That doesn't matter. So we'll non-dimensionalize all the velocity components using quantity U. Okay, similarly, lengths, for example, we have X, Y, and Z. So all of them will be non-dimensionalized using the characteristic or the reference length L. So again, the starred quantities are the non-dimensional quantities that have been defined. Okay, the next is time. So time, now to non-dimensionalize time, we need both U and L, because U also has a length, so we can cancel that length out using the L. So this is how we non-dimensionalize time. So all these things are very obvious and intuitive. And next is the other term. So let's go to the equations. So in the equations, we can see we have V um, as a variable, we have T as the variable, and we also have P, pressure, as the variable. Everything else is a constant. Density is a constant, G is a constant, and mu is a constant. So we have to non-dimensionalize P as well. So for that, we define a P star. Now, definition of P star is not as intuitive as what we had for the others. In fact, it's only this term that is not intuitive. If we had simply divided P by rho u square is how you can non-dimensionalize pressure. You can use the ideas of dimensional homogeneity to obtain this rho u square. But rho gz is something that we add, and this is just done to get rid of the gravity term in the Navier-Stokes equation. Okay, so we're not going to detail of this, how we get this, but this is done for convenience. But for now, just ignore this. Just accept the fact that we add a rho gz, but later when in the course you will see that you'll start understanding why we did this. Okay, we also have derivatives, partial derivatives in our equation. So they contain a dimension as well. So we have to be able to non-dimensionalize the partial derivatives. So let's see what we do. So we have this gradient, okay, which was del by del xi plus del by del yj plus del by del zk. So you can see that it has a dimension of 1 by length. So all you have to do is you have to multiply this by a length. So what we can do is we can define a gradient, a star gradient, which will now become del by del x star I and this is defined as length times the grad value, grad operator. All right. So that's how we have defined all the terms. So now it's just a matter of non-dimensionalizing our continuity and Navier-Stokes equations. So let's do that. Now the continuity equation, let's expand this. All right, so the first term, which is del u by del x, now we can write it as, so u can be written as, if I go back using this, so using this, we wrote v star as v upon u. So that means we can write the dimensional velocity v as a product of v star and u. That's exactly what we'll do here. So we'll write this u as a product of u star, which is the corresponding non-dimensionalized term, times capital U. Similarly, x will become x star times L. Okay, and this will allow us to take u by L outside. That's what we get. Okay, similarly, you can get del v by del y and del w by del z. So the continuity equation now becomes okay. And this u and L, remember they're constants. They were some reference speed and reference lengths. So we can, I mean, they'll cancel out anyways because there's a 0 on the right hand side. So what we are left with is the del star dot the v star vector is 0. So this is the non-dimensionalized form of the continuity equation. So that was very straightforward. We'll call this A. So next, we have to non-dimensionalize the momentum equation. Or the Navier-Stokes equation. So let's do it term by term. We'll assume that gravity is in the minus z direction. So I can write the g vector as minus gk hat. Okay. Now the grad operator was written as the grad star times 1 by L. Okay, so let's go and check. So we here we wrote grad star as L times grad. So the grad operator becomes 1 by L times grad star. And pressure, let's check again. So pressure is so we can write P as P star times rho u square. Okay, so we'll replace pressure using this term. And Z can actually be written as Z star times L, right? Okay, next we have the viscous term. So first we have mu, and then we have the square of grad. So if you have a square of grad, that basically has terms like del 2 by del x2, that x square in the denominator, actually, or del x times del x gives us the dimension of L square. So basically we have to have a 1 by L square this time times grad star, and then vector v can also be non-dimensionalized. So we write v star times u. Right, so that's now we have to simplify this. So let's do that. So on the left hand side, we can take this u and u by L outside. So well, the u actually will does the u cancel out? Yeah. So the u is going to get. I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake here. So for time, our t star was tu by L. So that means t is actually t star L by u. So you can actually check dimensionally also. Things should make sense. Okay, t times L by u actually ends up giving something non-dimensional. Okay, so this was t time, sorry, t star times. I'm sorry. One has to have a t star. Okay, so the t star times L by u actually has to give us a dimension of time, because we replace t with t star times L by u. Right. So we'll have a u square, and then we'll have 1 by L. Right. So that's the left hand side. On the right hand side, this minus rho g k hat stays as it is, and then I'll expand the two terms in the pressure terms bracket. So rho u square can be taken out, and then we have simply grad star p star. Okay, in the next term, which has a rho g z star L, which is this one, I can now take rho g L outside. They're all constants, and L will get cancelled out. So we have a rho g, and then we have a grad star of z star, okay, which simply gives us a k hat. Okay, and then the last term is simply mu upon L squared. Well, there's also a u, and grad star of v star. Right, so that's what we get if we take the constants on the left hand side of each term, and then you can see that this gravity term now gets cancelled. Okay, that was the whole idea of writing the p star with that rho g z term. And remember, it's our choice. I mean, we are substituting this p star is something that we are defining ourselves, so we can define it the way we want. So in this case, this results in the gravity term getting cancelled out. In problems which have no significant effect of gravity, in those cases, you don't need to use this term at all in defining pressure, P star, sorry. Right. So what we can now see is this rho u square by L is there on both sides. So what we'll do is we'll divide all the terms by rho u square by L. So if we do that, the left hand side simply becomes dV star by dt star. Let's go back and have a look. So we have divided the left hand side by rho u square. On the right hand side, if I rho u square by L. On the right hand side, if I divide the first term, the pressure term, by rho u square by L, I simply get rid of the constant, and then the viscous term also gets divided by rho u square by L. So the pressure term simply becomes grad star P star, and the viscous term was mu u by L squared, and what you've done is you've divided that by rho u square by L. I think I missed that. This was a square of grad star. I missed the square in these terms, but now I've added that. Right. So let's simplify the viscous term further. So this is mu u by L squared. So one of the L's will cancel out, and one of the u's will cancel out. So this is our final non-dimensionalized form of the momentum equation or the Navier-Stokes equation. All right. And in this term, mu upon rho ul actually is your 1 by Reynolds number. Right. So what we see is that there's only one non-dimensional parameter that is significant when we non-dimensionalize this equation. Okay, and that's the only non-dimensional number, but you can have more of these, more non-dimensional numbers which may come up from the boundary conditions. Okay, we have not talked about that, but do remember that, because depending on the kind of boundary condition you have, you also have to non-dimensionalize those boundary conditions, and that may result in some new non-dimensional number. But from the equation side, we only get one non-dimensional number. In fact, Reynolds number is considered the most important dimensionless parameter in fluid mechanics. All right. So as I told you earlier, that in problems where the Reynolds number is small, then you get laminar flow, and if Reynolds number is large, you get turbulent flow. Right. And I mean, laminar is those layered flow, very nice and structured, and turbulent is where you have a lot of random motion, mixing, froth in the flow. So that's like turbulent flow. Okay, we'll go into detail of these kind of flows later. Uh, in fact, Reynolds number can also be understood. So this rho u L by mu can also be understood as the ratio of inertial to viscous forces. Okay. Again, when we talk about boundary layers, etc., we'll go into further detail of these ideas of ratio of inertial and viscous forces. But you can see that the numerator has the term of u, which is bringing in the effect of inertia. The faster the incoming flow, the more the inertia, and the more the viscosity in the denominator, the more the viscous forces. So what we basically are saying is the Reynolds number is the ratio of these two quantities. So you can increase the Reynolds number by reducing the viscous terms. So if you have the same kind of flow happening across the aerofoil, but you change the fluid in such a way so that the viscosity reduces, then your Reynolds number will increase. Okay, or the other way around, if you have the same viscous same two fluids, but if you decrease the flow speed, then your Reynolds number decreases. So it's the ratio that matters rather than the actual absolute values of u, rho L and mu. And it's only this this rho u L by mu, this Reynolds number, that affects the flow behavior. So if you had two flow situations, in one case you have let's say the aerofoil length was L, in the other case you have a small aerofoil, simply the same, everything is the same except that the size has reduced to half. And so this we call model number 1, and this we call model number 2. And in the model number 1, your flow speed with which the flow is happening is u, and for model number 2, what you have done is you have made the speed as 2u. Okay. So what we see is the Reynolds number, if it is Re here also it's Re, because you double the velocity, you halve the length. So the ratio rho u, the product u times L, or 2u times L by 2 in this case, is still u times L. The Reynolds number is still the same. Okay, so these two models are similar in all senses, and then you can apply. I mean, if you solve, if you consider this equation number B, then Reynolds number was the only parameter, and that is the same for both cases. So the non-dimensional form will give you exactly the same result, that V star as a function of T star and X star. So this what we are solving is V star as some function of T star and the spatial coordinates. So this solution is the same for the same Reynolds number, except that you have V star is defined as V by U. So for the first case, it will be V by U. For the second case, it will be V by 2U. Okay, so that V value will be different. You won't get the same actual meters per second in these two cases, but the V star is the same. Okay. right? Now, sometimes there's a confusion that what is the meaning of Reynolds number being low or high? So we said that Reynolds number can help categorize the flow as laminar or turbulent, but how low should it be? Is there an actual number that helps us figure out what the critical value is beyond which it becomes turbulent? So that depends on the situation. Okay. Right, so that depends on the situation. So, for example, for instance, for cases such as flow in a pipe, so in these cases, your Reynolds number or the critical Reynolds number that at which the flow transitions from laminar to turbulent is around 2500. So it's around. It's not exactly the same number. I mean, depending on the conditions at which you are doing the experiment, it could be slightly less, slightly more, but around 2500. So in this case, you define the Reynolds number based on the diameter of the pipe. Yes, that's rho times u. You call it u average d by mu. So in a pipe, the flow is, as we'll see later, it's parabolic. So we define u average. U average is the volume flow rate divided by the cross section area. So u average is somewhere which is 2/3 of the u max value. Okay, so this is the Reynolds number. So for this RED, the way we have defined it, the critical value is 2500. Now, if you have a flow across a flat plate, okay, that is, you have a plate like this and the flow is happening. So as soon as the flow experiences the plate, there will be some friction and boundary layer will start developing. Okay, so if I call this as distance x, so you're moving from left to right and that changes x. So you define Rex as rho u x by mu. So the critical value of Reynolds number in this case is approximately 5 into 10 to the power of 5. Very different from the critical value for a pipe. Okay, so it depends on the situation. I mean, there's no universal value of Reynolds number. So it also depends on how you define the Reynolds number. What length have you taken? In the first case, we took the diameter. In the second case, we took the length x. Okay, so firstly, that length or the characteristic reference dimension that we are choosing should make sense. And secondly, it depends on the choice as to what the critical value will be. So lots of experience that has to go into all these, defining all these terms and so on. And we will discuss for the common geometries. We'll talk further about the critical values later when we start talking about turbulence. Right. So that's all I want to discuss about non-dimensionalizing the equations. Okay, so as I said earlier, that once you solve this V star as a function of T star and X star, because that is what you will get as a result of solving the non-dimensional continuity and momentum equations. And you will also get P star again as a function of your independent variables T star and X star. So earlier we were solving V and P as a function of T and X. Now we are solving V star and P star as a function of T star and X star. So the good thing is earlier we were worried about density, viscosity, and so on, and X, Y, Z. Now we don't have to worry about all those things. We simply have to choose. We have to solve this for different Reynolds number. So all those rho u, L, and mu are combined into one term called Reynolds number. So that makes our lives much easier. So even if we go for the choice of solving the theoretical equations using mathematical techniques or computational fluid dynamics, we still try to use the non-dimensional form of the equations, not the dimensional form that we talked earlier. Okay, so this exercise actually is quite useful. And as I said earlier, that this gives us information about all scales of pipe, all different viscosities, densities, and so on. Because everything is combined into one Reynolds number term only. Okay. Now, let's quickly and briefly talk about a couple of other. So we're out of time. I think let's stop here, and in the next lecture, I'll talk about some other non-dimensional variables which are also important in fluid mechanics problems. Okay. So thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll stop the recording in case there's any question. I'm happy to answer those.